A sphere of charred metal tore through the stratosphere over the Saratov region, plummeting at over 200 meters per second. Why did the greatest Soviet space triumph hide a secret for 30 years? Let's examine the 108 minutes of Vostok 1's flight and the landing that official history erased. It was the morning of April 12, 1961. The 2.5-ton space capsule plunged back into Earth's atmosphere, enveloped in a cocoon of superheated plasma. Inside the small spherical cabin, the sound was deafening, akin to the continuous roar of a jet reactor. The communication radio was in absolute silence. The thin external antennas had melted in the first minutes of reentry, severing all contact with mission control at the Turyatom base. The physical forces of deceleration began to crush the occupant against the anatomical seat. Telemetry, recorded on magnetic tapes on board, indicated the craft withstood peaks of over 10 G-forces. On the ground, peasants from a collective farm near the Volga River paused their field work. They gazed at the gray morning sky, perhaps expecting to see a military artifact or a weather balloon blown off course by the wind. If this journey has captivated you, subscribe. The universe's next destination is already being prepared. Instead, they witnessed two distinct anomalies falling from the clouds. First, a heavy black metal ball, still smoking, which struck the ground, opening a deep crater in the soft soil of the Russian spring. And almost 2 kilometers from the impact, the silhouette of a man in a bright orange suit hanging from a parachute. The SK-1 pressure suit, with its vibrant hue, was designed to preserve the cosmonaut's life in depressurization situations and make him highly visible to rescue teams across the vast steppe. Inside it was Yuri Gagarin, a 27-year-old fighter pilot. Just 108 minutes earlier, this same suit had walked toward the launch pad at the Baikonur Cosmodrome. The R-7 rocket, originally built as a modified intercontinental ballistic missile, stood nearly 40 meters tall on its concrete base. Its internal tanks were loaded with 280 tons of highly refined kerosene and liquid oxygen. Soviet engineering had adapted the Cold War's most feared and lethal weapon to carry a human beyond the atmosphere. Medical sensors taped to Gagarin's chest recorded a surprisingly calm heartbeat during the countdown, measuring 64 beats per minute. Only in the final seconds before main ignition did the pilot's pulse climb to 150. At 9:07 minutes Moscow time, the engines roared. Extreme vibration climbed through the service tower's metal structure and shook the capsule at its apex. Vostok 1 departed the pad, accelerating eastward, propelled by more than 20 million horsepower. The violent ascent lasted just over 10 minutes. The deafening roar of the engines was suddenly replaced by a continuous mechanical silence. The force of gravity vanished, and a small doll attached by a wire to the control panel began to float freely through the cabin. The thermal protection shields on the small windows clicked open. Gagarin looked through the heat-resistant quartz visor. Outside, contrasting against the deep black backdrop of space, shone the curved blue horizon of Earth, seen for the first time by human eyes. That unprecedented panorama marked the frontier of a territory where human biology had never been practically tested. No doctor or scientist knew for certain what would happen to a man's body or mind floating in the orbital vacuum. There were real fears within space agencies that prolonged absence of gravity could cause immediate circulatory failure or induce a paralyzing state of madness. As an extreme precaution, Soviet engineers designed Vostok 1 to be a fully automated machine. The craft's manual flight and orientation controls were physically locked. To unlock the control buttons, Gagarin would need to type a 3-digit secret code into a mechanical keyboard. This sealed code was kept inside a small brown envelope kept in a closed compartment in the cabin. The space program's logic was stark. If the pilot lost sanity in space, he couldn't interfere with the return trajectory programmed by the computers. The craft reached an apogee of 327 kilometers above Earth's surface. Its orbital speed exceeded 27,400 kilometers per hour, tearing through the vacuum in complete silence. For just over an hour, Vostok 1 crossed the Pacific Ocean, plunged into the dark night at the extreme south of the globe, and began to climb rapidly over the Atlantic. Over the west coast of the African continent, the automatic guidance system initiated the complex return sequence. The main braking engine fired for exactly 40 seconds in the vacuum. The burn reduced the capsule's speed precisely, curving its orbital trajectory downward towards Earth's dense atmosphere. The mechanical procedure required the service module, the cylindrical section housing the engines and fuel tanks, to separate from the descent capsule. The explosive titanium bolts detonated at exact the programmed moment, but sensors on Gagarin's instrument panel indicated a serious anomaly. The physical separation between the two modules was not clean. The heavy service module remained physically tethered to the small spherical capsule by a communication umbilical. It was a thick power cable that simply refused to let go. But that power cable transformed the return into an aerodynamic Russian roulette at the mesosphere's edge. The spherical capsule, now critically unbalanced by the hanging module's extra weight, began to spin uncontrollably on its own axis. The craft tumbled at a dangerous rate of 30 degrees per second as it plunged into the upper rarefied layers of the atmosphere. The main heat shield, precisely designed to absorb the extreme heat of atmospheric friction, was not firmly pointed forward. The capsule's vulnerable sides, including the thin entry hatch, were being exposed to temperatures exceeding 1,500 degrees Celsius. Inside the spinning cabin, Gagarin saw the intense glow of red plasma streaking past the windows. The centrifugal force of the uncontrolled spin, combined with the abrupt deceleration against the atmosphere, pressed the cosmonaut against the seat with the force of 10 gravities. His peripheral vision began to darken as blood was drained from his head. The cable finally melted from the extreme heat of the plasma, freeing the descent capsule, which used its shifted center of gravity to stabilize into the correct orientation. But a safe landing on Soviet soil was still far from guaranteed by the engineering of the era. What truly happened in those final minutes of freefall to necessitate a historical falsification? The official version from the Soviet Union, exhaustively repeated in press releases and international records, was simple and direct. Gagarin had remained comfortably secured inside his armored capsule until the exact moment of ground impact. They categorically stated that Vostok 1's parachute system reduced the heavy craft's terminal speed for a soft landing on the step. But the laws of physics surrounding that sphere of metal told a completely different story. Vostok 1 was technologically too heavy to land safely. Its main parachute, though gigantic, could only reduce the terminal descent speed to 36 kilometers per hour. A direct impact on hard ground at that speed, inside a metal sphere without efficient external shock absorbers, would be lethal for the human spine. At exactly 7 kilometers of altitude, the explosive bolts around the capsule's neck detonated with precision. They violently ejected the capsule's main hatch. The abrupt opening allowed the cold, rarefied air of the stratosphere to instantly flood Vostok 1's small cabin. Exactly 2 seconds later, the powerful solid-fueled rockets coupled beneath Gagarin's seat ignited. The first human being to orbit planet Earth was fired like a projectile out of his craft at over 23,000 feet of altitude. In freefall through the cold air, he mechanically separated from the heavy ejection seat and deployed his own personal parachute. The metal capsule continued its relentless descent, supported by its own giant canopy, falling kilometers away from the pilot. This was precisely why the peasants in the Saratov region saw 2 distinct things falling from the cloudy sky that day. An elderly peasant woman named Anna Toktarova and her small granddaughter were the first to cautiously approach the man dressed in a bulky orange spacesuit and a white helmet. The cosmonaut had to open his visor and shout in Russian to convince them he wasn't a downed foreign spy, but a Soviet citizen from space. This was the crucial mechanical detail the Soviet Union meticulously concealed from the rest of the world. The Fédération Aéronautique Internationale, the global entity based in Paris that certified aviation records, had strict, non-negotiable rules at the time. For a flight to be officially recognized as a complete and valid space mission, the pilot needed to take off and land inside his intact spacecraft. If the Federation knew that Gagarin had ejected at altitude and landed by parachute separately from the capsule, the flight could be summarily disqualified. The coveted title of humanity's first human spaceflight would become vulnerable to legal challenges from the United States. For this reason, the Soviet government's high command deliberately lied about the mission's final minutes. They instructed Gagarin and the entire flight control team to omit the existence of the ejection seat in all press conferences and medical reports. The charred capsule was displayed to the public and international press without its internal ejection mechanisms, and the Soviet delegates sent to Paris an official world record form filled with a false statement. The document, in turn, concealed a technical vulnerability of Soviet engineering, the capsule's excessive weight and the inefficiency of its early damping systems. The Soviet Union won the race to put the first man in orbit, but lacked the refined technology to bring him back in complete safety inside the craft. The lie about the crewed landing was officially maintained until 1971, when the space program archives finally admitted the routine use of the ejection seat in Vostok missions. The historical irony is that the forced ejection doesn't diminish the magnitude of Yuri Gagarin's human feat. To survive a launch mounted on a modified ballistic missile, to face the unknown orbital vacuum, and to eject in the stratosphere required a level of psychological control that no international stamp could validate. The true story of Vostok 1 isn't about a perfect mechanical landing. It's about a man who leapt from a flaming metal shooting star and walked through a potato field back to Earth. In our next episode, we will investigate Betelgeuse, the star that is about to explode, or already exploded 640 years ago. We'll see what telescopes recorded when its brightness mysteriously plummeted in the night sky. The dust raised by the heavy orange boots in the Saratov field soon vanished on the wind, but the trajectory of that solitary leap still reverberates in the silence of our own orbit.